So I've been meaning to talk about this for a little while now, and what really inspired this topic was the level of communication I see a lot of these reviewers and content creators have, where when they convey an opinion on a video game, a lot of their critique is based on their own personal emotions and beliefs. Now, you may say, well, of course, the idea of someone's review or someone's opinion is based within the confines of their mindset, and depending on the limitations of that mindset and how broad their own life experience and expectations are, there can never be true objectivity in a critique. And I see the logic and reason in that, but I wanted to discuss this all with you today in an effort to hopefully get us thinking about the way we communicate and the way we convey our opinions and bias. So last year, some of you may remember I did a video on Wolfenstein Youngblood, and it was more or less a review, but I was discussing why I believed that Youngblood is a much better game than Wolfenstein 2. I used game in quotations in both the title and my verbiage in an effort to basically get people to think about the statement in a different way, because as soon as you see the word game, you start considering the entire experience. And in that video, I was basically saying that the video game portion of this game, the controls, the level design, the gunplay, the stealth, was much improved and much more fun than anything I played in Wolfenstein 2. Well, to my surprise, that video, probably due to the controversy surrounding my critique and how it sort of strays away from the Youngblood is one of the worst entries in the Wolfenstein series moniker, has received a lot of attention. But I was very honest, and I opened that video with a statement that regardless of my personal beliefs or upbringing, that I am always attempting to be objective with whatever I tackle and whatever I review. And I received mostly positive comments there, although that video still gets views today, and most people are just sort of quick to judge and just say flat out, you're wrong, or it's bad, and they don't expand upon that. And I'm always open to hearing why a specific game is bad, but if you start telling me bullshit about character choices and narrative design decisions, I mean, there's an entire video game to go along with that experience. Case in point, I just beat Assassin's Creed Valhalla this past weekend. Finally. And while the vast majority of the game was rather dull and inspired, just very boring and uninteresting, I still gotta give them credit for the level of detail in the world, the storytelling, which when you unlock all the secrets and have the entire story in your hands to review, it's actually surprisingly deep and very shocking, like very unexpected. But the game portion of it is very formulaic. And as I mentioned this already, I still wouldn't call Valhalla a bad game by any means, even though it has a complete disrespect for your time and painfully asks you to go through numerous mundane tasks over and over again. The experience overall still must be taken into account, and functionally, it handled well on the PS5 at 60 FPS. Or let's take even something more controversial and bring up The Last of Us Part 2. This game is still garnering attention and conversation from fans almost a year later. That's how impactful this game was, for better or worse. When I played it, I did not go in with any knowledge of the story or any of the spoilers that were around. I watched the trailers like all of you guys. I was aware of that character death, but that's it. I did not know the motivation behind any of the characters or the twist or the central point in the game or anything. That is all I knew about that character dying. And I was shocked to find just how unexpected the entire journey was. And while I do agree that the narrative had some what the fuck moments, and the subject matter was just simply awful and miserable at all times, I still stand by my statement that The Last of Us Part 2 has the most dynamic combat in any game I've ever played. The graphics are drop dead gorgeous, but feelings were hurt and expectations weren't met. So I'm expected to hate the game because of narrative decisions when the core gameplay experience, the visuals, just the pure quality of the game, even the level design, polish, and presentation were all flawless. But people believed that this is justified, and they stand by it, and they will subject you and push you to understand and chant their disgust with them. And I just find it extremely exhausting. There are many things that make up a video game, and not everyone does every single one of these things exceptionally well, but that doesn't mean that because it's not perfect the entire way through, that it's not necessarily bad, no matter how far it stumbles in those areas. I'm just saying, give credit where credit's due. We play video games for the gaming part. Do any of you honestly believe that you'd love this medium as much as you do if there wasn't any interaction allowed? I don't think so. You know, a movie relies on its narrative. You can't have a film without a story. It doesn't work. A game, however, doesn't need a story. And although the potential that games have to push narrative forward is exponential, there's more to it than that. That's why we're here. That's why you're listening to me discuss this, because you love the interaction, the influence, the role playing, the projection of agency, or simply the viewership of another person's personal experience. You are here because you love the influence and that level of control. The satisfaction that gives you is worth praise when it's done very well. And that's why I enjoyed Wolfenstein Youngblood, or more recently, The Last of Us Part 2. It's why, even though Death Stranding was the most influential game for me that I've played in recent years, and I'm even considering it my favorite narrative in any video game ever, it's why, even with all of my love and praise for that game and the storytelling, I didn't give it the game of the generation for me. I gave it to God of War, which is exceptional as well, and the narrative, although not as complex as Death Stranding, but that gameplay, man, it was incredible. So if we can't be objective, you know, and maybe I'm just sitting here preaching to the choir, but if we can't be objective, then perhaps we can do a better job at communicating our opinions. It's something I mentioned a long time ago to you guys that I'm trying to be more aware of. I'm not in the business of telling you what to think. That's up to you. I believe in showing a perspective. And if you like it, great. And if you don't, that's great too. But it's just a perspective. How influential that is to you is left to your own discretion. And communication is an extremely important aspect, not just to critique, but to conversation as well. So I hope that this has lit a spark of some thought and encourage you all to think about the ways that we communicate and how we want our opinions to be conveyed, because there's so many opinionated people on this platform. I feel like they're sometimes missing the point of it all. You know, feedback should be encouraged, and we should all strive to receive it. Otherwise, how do we truly know who's listening to us? So thank you all so much for watching, and we'll talk later.